We really appreciate when people share it. So I do know it was a pleasure working with you, always bringing energy and all of these things. So we really, really appreciate that. But hey, first question, where were you before working with us, right? Like when, how long have you been searching for?
So I went on furlough on April the 3rd. That was my last day of work. And so we were told at the time that we were going to be back at the end of May. And then end of May came by and we were told, no, it's probably going to be the end of June. Then during that time period, so that's like 2 full months. And I was dabbling in it. I was fairly confident that I would be recalled.
You were hanging out saying, hey, I'm just waiting to go back to work type thing, right?
Yeah. So I'm doing like DIY projects around the house. I got, I had the greenest, most perfectly manicured front lawn in the whole neighborhood. I mean, it was I was feeling okay. I was obviously dabbling a little bit in some search. Really kind of looking at trying to tweak my resume and getting some of those job listings that were kind of being sent to me and checking things out, applying here and there, was not getting any response. Really kind of knew, a lot of the whole thing about, you got to keep networking. So I did some outreach to sort of but I was always under the guise of, I'm going to go back, but I just wanted to take some time because I've got some time. I know you've got, and we was really more casual. So when we got the notice at the almost end of June that the next time we were potentially coming back was the beginning of September, I thought, okay, clearly what I'm doing now is not working. And so I started to research a lot of different sort of coaching opportunities and options. And I'll say I did go down the path with a couple of other individuals that I had been connected to on LinkedIn. And they were like really preaching, you've got to beat the, what is it? The DMI or what is the TMI, the keyword,
ATS.
ATS. You got to beat the ATS. You got to beat the ATS.
You got to have the perfect resume for every single position.
Yes. And so
which doesn't exist.
Right. And they were very willing to say, I work with, hundreds of companies. I know their particular ATS system. You send me your resume. I will tweak it so that it will absolutely give you an 80 or a higher on there, guaranteed. And each time I did that, it was like $45. And that was and that got, I'm sorry, $75. $75. And so that got really old really fast. Like by the third time I was like, okay, so I got past the ATS allegedly. I'm still not getting interview.
2,000 people got past the ATS.
Yes.
That's what they didn't tell you. Or when you do get past it, then you got to interview. Yeah. And, that's a whole different other skill set that we spent a lot of time preparing on,
So I had someone who referred me to you guys, and she only did the resume writing service. So she referred me to, and she said, you know what, they're really great to work with. They're very responsive. And she said she was completely satisfied with the transformation that you guys did to her resume. And she was former military. She might still be in military. And she, went on to get a successful role in a position. And so when I did sort of the intake call, what really impressed me, I think, was your balanced approach of HR and recruiter. And I've, reviewed thousands of resumes, thousands of LinkedIn profiles. I have matched people with the right role. I have taken roles and I've had clients and I've matched them together, and then I've prepped them in order to get them through, the interview process. And so it was that's a really strong sort of like 1-2 punch that I really wasn't seeing in other, a lot of times it was, I've been a recruiter or I've been an HR leader in Fortune 500 companies and things like that. Or I'm just a recruiter and I'm doing this and I can help you with this, that, and the other. So to me, that was the really potent kind of secret sauce that you guys had. And And to be honest, I think you guys also come across as extraordinarily sort of like compassionate, caring. And then what I came to learn, which I think was the most beneficial portion of the program, was just the availability and the willingness to kind of drop what you're doing and help, because you know that these things kind of happen like
Yep.
in lightning speed, and you are like, yes, I'm not available until 5, but can we talk at 5? Sure, let's talk at 5, that kind of thing. And I think it's really feeling like you have a coach in your corner, or more than one coach in this case. I mean, and really kind of having a personalized sort of like expert assistant, which is priceless. And I think that, you know, you think about all the different services that people offer, the professional services. Generally, it's like, I will come, I will fix your problem, and I will go away and, you know, have a good day. Here, it's like your problem could last 90 days, it could last 6 months, it could last, and I feel like, yeah, we're going to be there until we see this through to the end.
And you just accepted a new role now at Aspen Dental, and it was a pretty good increase too. And I know you were really excited about that.
Yeah, I think that, you know, when we did that original sort of like worksheet, which is like what's important to you, really truly being honest with yourself, you know, it was about, you know, purpose. It was about staying here in the Chicago area. It was about obviously money is important, role, and you know, you want to. I'm teetering on the, you know, final sort of phase of my career. And so you definitely don't want to necessarily go back in the unlikely event that something, you know, happens and you have to go out on the search again. And so, yeah, a jump up in title would be great. You know, all of those things sort of were on my, this is important. But truly what was the most important was alignment with kind of who I am, and trying to be able to stay in our house and here in the Chicago area.
That's where people struggle, because they get in a search and they immediately go to job boards, and they don't really have their ideal situation of, here's what I want to do, kind of where I want to work, the culture I want to be in. They just immediately go to this without defining that. And if you don't define that, how can you be successful? I know, Carrie, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to ask you next is what you find most valuable in this program. But what I like, what you kind of covered, is that it's not just one thing. It's kind of having a coach in your pocket, kind of like what you said, for everything. And what I loved about working with you is that we did cover every aspect of your job search, like we do with all of the program participants. Is that it was mindset, it was figuring out what that ideal situation was for you specifically, and being with you every step of the way. And I remember a really key moment for you and I when we were coaching is when we had that breakthrough moment with that elevator pitch, and we just celebrated because it was a barrier to kind of overcome in that interview prep, and all the way to the salary negotiation. And a lot of times people, before they come working with us, they think it's just that resume. If I only had that resume that will pass that ATS, then I'll get a job, you know, but it's not, it's the whole speed thing. So I know you kind of talked that it was the whole sort of thing, but when you kind of were telling the group about your experience, you kind of mentioned it was the mindset thing. So was that?
So it was initially, I think when I joined the first time, and the first group call that I joined was a Tuesday group call. And it was Tim doing his thing around, you know, really kind of bringing a real positive kind of thing. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I don't really need this. I'm pretty positive. I'm pretty straight. But my God, during this process,
you get that first rejection, thinking you were going to get an offer, and the world's ending.
Yes. And so that's what happens, is that you go through this roller coaster, which it's just punched to the gut when you're like certain this is the one, I nailed it, everything is firing. And then it's like, no. Oh yeah. And so like, trust me, the next Tuesday is coming along. I couldn't wait for this. Like, okay, come on, let's get this thing. Let's get positive. Let's refocus. And I think that was something that, you know, as a guy, I think you know, there's a couple things that we really dislike, like hate asking for directions, and then really just not like asking for help. And I think that part of the part of the decision-making process to join this group was, I feel like I'm resourceful. I feel like I can get answers. I feel like I can kind of dig in and figure things out, make a plan, stick to it, and get things done, because that's what I've done my entire career. But the question then becomes, why make mistakes? Why continue to kind of fail when you could probably get somebody who's done this and is an expert in this area, and then really kind of smooth the path in front of you? And I think that's really that kind of as I was going through it, and there's a price tag, and there's always sort of like, pluses and minuses, but at the end of the day, it's like, listen, just like anything that you want to accomplish in life, if you've got a plan that is solid and it's proven and it's been successful, why not jump in, take advantage of it, and you're going to make your life a whole lot easier. So,
and I know Kara has one more question, but before that, I just want to add in, I was at a business conference last year, and he says the most successful people, right when they need help, they get it immediately. Like right when they need help with their leadership, their sales, their whatever it is, right when they start stumbling, saying, I'm not getting what I think I should, immediately. Successful people get help like so quickly. Anyone can ask for help after they've been unemployed for 2 years, they've been beat up, and they're at their, oh, I need help. Anyone can do that. Hey, if you want to be really successful, right? Like get help really early on. And I'm glad you did that, because you were like, hey, this isn't working out. We need to do this. And I'm glad everything worked out for you.
Especially with the job search, because people are so successful in their careers, but not a lot of people have to navigate this, especially if they've been in their careers for a long time. And so having, a blueprint to follow is just the smart thing to do. And I'm glad that we were able to do this. So the last question I have is, what advice would you have for someone who might be considering making that investment in themselves and not really sure? If they're watching this video, what would you tell them if they were sitting right here?
So you use the right term, and that's investment. And truly, it is something that is something that has a significant return, because the program is something that has legs and feet and arms and a full sort of like it wraps itself around you, and you feel somewhat secure that you're hearing other people who are being successful. You're hearing other people who are getting jobs, and it's wonderful and it's amazing, and it's something that it's a grind, and you have to work at it, and it's effort. But at the same time, you are spending your time doing the right things, and that's the most important thing, because the days start to tick off one after another. But as long as you know that you're doing, you're putting in the effort, you're doing the automation, you're following up, and you're doing all those things, it's going to work for you, and that's what's really kind of most exciting.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark.
My pleasure.